So, hello, fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 6455463728. And Dave Chappelle is not a transphobe 100%, and neither is he a trans ally necessarily 100%. But then neither necessarily is any trans individual. Um, and that's what comes across in his special. The way that he might say trans people do this, or trans people say that, or trans people don't listen, that is grouping people. I know we have to, and I know there should be some understanding or comprehension that he is not saying all trans people, and he should not have to say every single time all trans people. I'm not talking about all. I'm talking about some. But yeah, it comes across that way. Um, One of the things that I would have ended my last piece on, and I guess I'm coming to terms with, is that just because someone says something that you don't like, it doesn't mean that that was their intention, and it just might mean that you shouldn't look at the stuff that they do. As I was saying, there are many families where people tell each other, I'll slap you in your face, or why don't you go kill yourself, or I wish you would die, or whatever. And they don't literally mean it. But if they come across someone who, they don't say that stuff in their family, oh my God, this is suddenly a super awful person and, it's a toxic person. Well, maybe, but maybe you're toxic and just more polite, you know? One of the things that I will say is that, yeah, at the end of the day, um, just like on Hot Ones, there are gradations to comedy. There's Howie Mandel, and then there might be Dave Chappelle, and there might be Richard Pryor, and there might be, um, what's his face. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of different things, and just because you don't like Dave Chappelle necessarily, it does not mean that. I mean, you can use your power. That's what everybody tries to do to get what their goals are. And some people, I think, don't realize that some of these tools can be used against you. So be careful what it is that you ask for in terms of other people, what you want them to have to pay. Uh, I'm sure that everybody, let he who's without sin cast the first stone. Do you want people to do this to you when you or if you get famous enough um, and are in a similar situation? Um, there's just so much stuff to unpack in Dave Chappelle's stuff, his show. The Having read the reviews, having read some of these tweets, um, wow, what a ridiculous thing with respect to the anti-Semitism. It's pretty much as I thought in my other piece. People are really just stretching to make it seem anti-Semitic. It's a joke based on the Bible in one instance, and I can't really recall what the other joke is based on. Um, so I don't know how anybody is using that to say that he's hostile to Jews in terms of the definition of anti-Semitism, or is using it to denigrate or insult Jews. That's ridiculous. People are like, oh yeah, he wants people to see Jews as aliens. Okay, well then he wants people to see people from Battlestar Galactica as aliens? I mean, yeah, I know there's a stereotypical appearance for Jews, but Battlestar Galactica was about people who left Earth, and in both the series actually, the old one and the new one, they came back to Earth, not necessarily to reclaim it, but just to join and be living on Earth. Um, so are they horrible? I don't know. But the stuff on somebody said, oh my God, somebody said he at the end of his tirade and all this bad stuff that he said about trans people, he he gave the typical "I have a trans friend" thing, which oh my gosh is such a gross, disgusting breakdown. I feel maybe it isn't gross, but it feels to me gross and disgusting. He said that he met a trans person. He discussed the difficulty that he had in forming a connection with the person. He he, he discussed the level that he reached with of understanding with this person, that he wanted to help this person to um, with their career. And then because that person defended him, well, not because nobody can 100% tie it, but it's really kind of fishy that less than a week after defending him publicly, this person commits suicide. That's not "I had a trans friend" story. That is nothing like "oh, I have a black friend" story. That is nothing like that. I don't. He is talking about. I'm sure that it is traumatic to know someone and spend time with someone and then have them commit suicide. Even if they're not your longtime friend or whatever, to know somebody that you were there with, that you were hanging out with, that you had a special place for in your heart or whatever, and have them commit suicide while they're being um, rolled by other people who are trans like them. Oh my God, it's horrible. And then, oh my God, how somebody else, this guy Deegan's, how he twisted what Dave Chappelle, his last words in the special, or it seems twisted, or it seems like he just wasn't listening, like Dave Chappelle says. But again, this is the part about Dave Chappelle. Do you expect every single person to listen, Dave? No, that's ridiculous. Any more than every black person is a particular way. But the way that this guy misinterpreted it is like it just tells you go and listen to get this stuff from the horse's mouth. Um, and that's one of the things that. But let me just say what Mr. Deegan said. He said that at the end of the show, Dave Chappelle wanted. He's like, um, basically, be good to my people, or stop punching down on my people, or something like that. I think is what he said. And Mr. DeGans took it to mean black people. I don't think it had anything to do with black people. I think it had to do with comedians. Hey guys, let up on hurting comedians because he was like this trans person, this my friend. He was part of my tribe. He was my people. He laughed at a lot of these trans jokes that Dave might have come up with. He didn't, take them in the wrong way or whatever you might say. So he saw this guy as his people. So partially, I'm sure he's like, hey, other trans people who are, you know, coming down on my friend who ended up killing himself, and I see him as a comedian and he's my people, lay off of my people. It had nothing to do with black people. There was no, yeah, that was crazy. Now, if you flip that on the other side, though, like I said, Dave Chappelle has this thing where he's talking about the trans community and the trans people and da da da, and it's the same exact thing, um, where he's not seeing that in the black community there was no black community, there was no one black leader. There was Martin Luther King, there was Junior, there was Malcolm X. There might have been Muhammad Ali. There might have been um, the Black Panthers. There would have been all of these different groups who espoused different paths forward by any means necessary, non-violence, or arm yourselves. It's a lot of different, and it's the same exact thing with the trans community. There was the guy who stood up for you. There are the people who roasted him on Twitter. There was how he spoke to you before you guys became close. There was the alleged um, lesbian who took a swing at you that you thought was a man initially. There's all these different people, and you can't lump them together. One of the things that Dave Chappelle would have said that was really, I think, clearly stupid was how he was on Team Turf. Meaning, apparently, that lady who wrote uh, J.K. Rowling's, she was talking about gender, and Dave Chappelle was like, yeah, I didn't even know what turf was, da da da, and I'm on Team Turf, which is toxic something something feminist. He is not on Team Turf. There's maybe one, the idea that gender is real. Yes, it doesn't matter how much of a woman a trans woman is, at least with current technology, she's not going to be able to bear a child. I think one person did, but the normal way, have sex, conceive, um, give birth. That's not likely to happen naturally. There's no matter how much of a woman you are. So clearly there are at least physical distinctions. But there are other things that J.K. Rowling espoused, like her thoughts on men being able to use the bathroom, the female bathroom, or trans women being able to use the bathroom. That he does not, he made a joke about disagreeing with that. Where she's like, if he goes to the toilet and a trans woman comes in and urinates next to him, that is not going to make him feel better. He's not going to think that his family is protected because of that. J.K. Rowling is actually scared of that, as far as I understand. She was talking about the fact that she would have been sexually assaulted, and she has this kind of fear that a trans woman will assault her, I guess. That's based on what I have seen her write. So there clearly is a distinction, I think, between um, J.K. Rowling and what Dave Chappelle believes. So yeah, I don't know, he came on and he said, I'm on Team Surf. No, you're not. You believe that gender is a real thing, but you don't want to punch down on people by making ridiculous laws that serve no purpose other than to emotionally hurt trans people. So yeah, that was kind of stupid. But I think he doesn't know because he didn't know what turf was. He doesn't know all the things that she said. Who has time? He has a special to write. He has, places to travel. He has friends to hang out with. He doesn't know everything that she wrote about. And I think, especially if you have friends like, what's his name? Like Joe Rogan, a woman who is a trans woman. Men and women are really not exactly this huge disparate um, in terms of ability. I think in the way that we are culturized, in the way that we are pushed, yeah, there's a huge difference there in terms of what a woman might output, but that is based on the mental training that she has input. I think there are a lot of women who, in order to preserve what they believe as femininity, will not drive themselves, whether consciously or unconsciously, to beat men. And a lot of men will probably try to kill themselves to prove that they're better than women. So you have one side who wants to pull the brakes, and you have one side that wants to mash the gas. So all of these trans athletes that are out there, and you may have instances of one trans uh, woman who is beating all of these um, cis women. The thing about it is that when the cis women beat the trans athlete, nobody says anything. That's what this trans athlete said. He's like, the 12 times this woman beat me, she had nothing to say. The one time I beat her, it's a whole big thing. So trans men and women can compete, but no, it's just that's we believe in what we want to believe. We believe in what we want to believe, that flesh is not flesh. That a woman, a cis woman who is twice the size of a cis man, we want to believe that the cis man is still going to um, be able to beat her. Or if they're the same size, flesh is not flesh. Testosterone is going to make you stronger. Really? Testosterone. The amount of testosterone in a human being, I'm sure it's not even like a milliliter. It's a very, very small amount that produces these changes. So that testosterone, I don't know. To me, it's ridiculous. A lot of people are gonna think, you don't understand. I don't understand. Well, okay, fine. But anyway, the end result is that Dave Chappelle's special, all the people who want him to Netflix to take it off and blah blah blah, I think they're full of bullshit. And he's justifiably upset that some people are being cancelled for that. This is another cancel, and I'm saying justifiably. I think some people um, are gonna you lose a job, and hopefully that would change you. Some people it might change, other people it might just make bitter, and they would just continue down the same path and just be more entrenched. But hopefully some people it changes, and at least it should be an example to other people. This is not acceptable behavior. In terms of the overall arched um, score that I would give, is this some kind of a transphobic performance that is going to encourage people to hurt trans people? Freak no. And I don't know how any trans person who has seen it, and I don't know anybody who hasn't seen it, who has seen other Dave Chappelle's productions. Yeah, to begin with, if you're gonna make a pronouncement on this thing, go see it. Take it from the horse's mouth, because that's one of his complaints, is that people complain based on what they hear other people say. And I know for a fact that I have done that. And then when I saw the original thing, I was like, oh my God, I was wrong. That is not what happened. I mean, yeah, I say he shouldn't be fired. I think Netflix has a firm stand, and I know that some people are going to misconstrue, and a lot of people who don't have the time or the interest are going to make a judgment one way or the other. And I think those who think that Dave Chappelle should have to pay are ridiculous, because someone like Caitlyn Jenner is probably not 100% for trans people being Republican. You're giving your weight to things that would not help trans people. She's much worse than Dave Chappelle, anything that he would have said. And yeah, I'm kind of going based on her being just a Republican. But anyway, thanks for listening if you did. Have a good one. Peace.